I think I'm right to be concerned. I think I am right to be concerned about personal integrity. I want to talk about that a little bit because I had a young man write to me. And he's about to join the Air Force. And the reason he wrote to me is he said, as a former Royal Air Force instructor that I was, a flying instructor on fast jets, of course, on fighter jets. He said, look, thank you, Tim. He said, I've read all your stuff and everything. I just want to let you know I got into the military as a pilot, got into the Royal Air Force as a pilot. And he wrote me this really nice email. And like I normally do, I just blanked out his name and I put it on one of my socials. I can't remember which one it was now. And everyone, I think about like 200 people wrote, oh, that's amazing. What a great dude. What a great guy, you know, helping dudes out. And I put it up there because I want to inspire other people. And I believe that. I believe that our own actions inspire other people, levels them up, right? So people look at someone who's losing weight and they're like, well, that guy can do it, I can do it. Or they look at someone who's, you know, maybe started a business. I think people see the struggle, and hit the comments, guys, if you think I'm talking rubbish here. But I think people see someone that's gone through some hardship and they think, well, if that guy can do it, or that girl can do it, maybe I can as well. You know, that's the thing. So I think that's important. This young man wrote to me and he said this. He said, thank you. I've read all your stuff and I got into the Air Force, and I just want to thank you for putting that stuff out. He said, I know that young people like me need instructors like you. I thought that was really nice. Now I still teach. I've got a school online. I still teach. But it got me thinking about integrity, because a few days later, the young man saw that post, and as I said, his name was taken out. But he wrote to me. He said, I know you've taken my name out. I've had this a couple of times. He said, I know you've taken my name out, but I might still be able to be identified. And although I agree with everything you're saying, and people do agree, he said, with what I'm saying, he said, the Ministry of Defence and the Royal Air Force don't necessarily see it in the same way. And I wonder whether you could take my post down, because I don't want to be identified. Now, normally I don't take that stuff down, but he was a young man and he has just got into the Air Force and he's got a long journey ahead of him. Initial officer training. He's got the whole of flying training. It might take him anything up to 5 to 7 years. And I thought about two things here, and this is why I thought about doing a video on this. I think you know what I'm going to say. So the first thing, okay, I'm going to be real with you. It kind of upset me a little bit, and not because of what this young man had asked me to do. I understood that he's a young man and his whole career is ahead of him, and he doesn't want to risk that by being identified with aligning with my values. And I get it. He is aligned with my values. He doesn't want to be seen to be aligning with my values, even though I was the standards officer on the largest fast jet squadron in Northern Europe, well, in the whole of Europe, really. And my job obviously was to set and uphold standards. I had 12 men who did that, and then they taught the other instructors who then taught the students. So that was my job as a Royal Air Force fighter pilot flying instructor, was to set those standards that the squadron upheld. And that's why, I mean, they're asking for instructors back now, of course, because we left because the conditions were poor, and they're asking us to go back. I doubt they're going to take me, of course, but that's probably quite a good thing. And I don't think I'm really wanting to go back. But so the two things I thought about was, one, how sad is it? And I know the guy's young, and I fully understand that. I work with young people all the time. He's one of many people that have written to me, but this guy feels that he has to pretend to be something else to join an organisation that espouses in its mottos, really, respect, integrity, service and excellence. It says integrity. And yet he's so worried of being aligned with someone else who he is aligned with, that he wants me to not identify him. He couldn't be identified, but he worries that he might be. I mean, the state of that, when you think about the Ministry of Defence and the Royal Air Force he mentions, but of course we know it's all tri-service, it's Army and Navy as well. I'm interested whether anyone else has got any history on this, whether you've applied for a job maybe, and you've had to change the way you've written your application because you worry in this modern time that if you were to be yourself on that application, that of course you may not get that job. I work for myself. I have a business, and I'm about to start a new course soon called the Spin Recovery Program. And the Spin Recovery Program is people going through difficult times. It's, you know, we'll get ourselves in a spin, don't we? We understand that. And the Spin Recovery, spin stands for self-esteem, purpose, integrity and negativity. And we concentrate hugely on those 4 attributes. I've run it before. It takes a bit of a toll on me, so I'm doing it a bit of a different way this time, placing the onus on the individual, going to give them some lead products of like booklets that they can use and read, and they come together in a huge community. But it's not a sell pitch, I'm not interested in that. But it's the integrity part of that. I believe wholly in integrity. And what is integrity? I think integrity is doing the right thing even though no one's looking. I believe it's doing the right thing even though no one's ever going to see you. That's what integrity is about. If you've got a better definition for me, I'm really interested in the better definition of integrity. But I like that one. And I'm not saying this young man doesn't have that. I'm saying he has it in spades, but he's worried, I think personally, that he's joining a service that doesn't have that anymore. A service that does lack integrity. A service that has promoted people that just towed the party line, that just said what their bosses wanted to hear for a very long time. And now we're infested throughout our military and our home office and everything, all government, I believe, is infested with these people. And the reason I say that is because I saw something recently about immigration in the UK. I know everyone's got immigration concerns, shall we say. I don't want to go into specifics, but I did see a murder recently in the UK where a woman, an old woman, was killed for a handbag and she was stabbed to death. I don't think I've seen that before. An old woman stabbed to death. They said it was a Somali man, which I can only assume is an immigrant. You'll probably say that I'm being racist or something there. I don't know. I just don't want people killing old women, and I don't care who they are. But if that is an immigrant that's come in, and of course we're bringing people into the UK that aren't adding any value that's tangible. And I did see something that's saying that immigration hasn't, or the increase in immigration hasn't improved the productivity of the United Kingdom, which shock horror of course is not going to. And of course it also takes up housing that young people then can't use. And I think the Home Office has come out with that recently, or some politician has, and I want to have a look at that. The Home Office seems to actively go against ministerial direction with immigration. And it's full of people, and I believe these people lack integrity. I think people of the senior military lack integrity. I think integrity is a real, I don't want to swear, guys, but what are you if you don't have your word? Who are you if you don't have your word? If people don't believe what you say is true, who are you? Can you be a man like that? I don't think you can. Can you be a man if you don't have integrity? Why would I trust you? Like literally, people phone me up, people write to me, and I think to myself, I know which rank you're at now in the military. I know what you've done to get there. And I've heard stories about how you've got there. And I'm not answering your email. I'm not going to speak to you. I don't want to. I don't need to. Because I don't want your lack of integrity, your lack of self-belief, your lack of purpose in your life infecting me. I work hard every day to make sure that I treat my students in my school with respect, and I encourage their growth and application in what happens to be virtual flying training, irrespective. I don't want someone then reaching in to try and get a bit of that success when they haven't developed or shown that themselves. If you don't have your word, I don't want to talk to you. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm waffling. All I'm saying is I wasn't upset with this young man. I understood it. What I was upset with was things like our Ministry of Defence, which in America would be Department of Defence, our public sector institutions such as the Royal Air Force, our military. And he's so worried about being identified as being aligned with me, who teaches about self-esteem, purpose, integrity, and negativity. I teach about integrity. I teach about holding your word. And he's worried about aligning with me because he's joining an organisation that he doesn't think does that. Isn't that incredible? And I was in that organisation for 20 years. I was the standards officer. I was the senior qualified flying instructor in the Royal Air Force. And to see that now, and they're asking guys like me to come back because guys like me have left. I just find it incredible. Who's in those top echelons of our military or our public sector services? Who's in? Who are these politicians? Who are these Home Office people? Are we that far gone? I'm not, guys. I know in America and I know in Australia and in the Middle East, a lot of people see these videos. I don't really know how it is out there. I do try and follow some politics because I've got students from those countries and we talk about it. Is it real like this the world over? I mean, if that's the case, write in the comments, what are we going to do about it? Is it possible? I mean, seriously, is it possible? Can we ever change this back? Is it too far gone? Do we need to rejoin these things to square it away? Is it possible to change something? I mean, the speed at which this has happened, the speed at which things have changed. I don't know about you, but old ladies being stabbed in the streets of London for their handbags. I've never heard of that before. And I've lived in this country for 49 years. I've never heard of an old woman being stabbed An old woman. It's not a young woman. It's an old woman. Even if it was a young woman, listen to me. Like, that's acceptable. It's not acceptable at all. This is how people get normalised. I'm getting fucking normalised now. Like, oh, if it's a young woman being stabbed, yeah, that's understandable. No, it's fucking not understandable. What's the matter with you, Davies? You fucking idiot, mate. Of course it's not. But I'm becoming normalised to this now. And this is, I guess, how we change. Like, I look at the Air Force. Well, it's the Air Force. Of course it would not like this young man if he was aligning himself with my virtues and my principles. So what are you talking about? It's the Royal Air Force. It's the oldest Air Force in the world. It should be have standards up here. And of course, we know the Royal Air Force doesn't, because it was actively trying to discriminate against people on entry, wasn't it? It was trying to say that it wanted the service. And I hate going on about this. I hate it. I hate talking about it. It's just so beneath me. But of course, it tried to make the service 40% women and 20% minorities by 2030. And of course, if you do that, then it means that you're going to have to discriminate against someone. It's like me saying on my flight school, I want my flight school to be 90% men. It's like, well, that means that women are not going to get an even look in. What's that about? Why would I even say that? Like, literally, who cares? Obviously, the Air Force cares. The Air Force actively does not want young white men joining. I think it could be a class issue more than anything else, but I don't want to go into that. Either way, I thought I'd ask that question with you guys. Like, am I going mad here? Am I going mad thinking that we should be holding ourselves to holding ourselves to account? Like, we should be focusing more on integrity for ourselves. Look at this. It's 12 minutes of me just, I'm not upset with the young man. I'm not upset with the young man. I'm upset with the fact that he feels to align himself with the values and principles of the former Royal Air Force senior fast jet flying instructor is detrimental to him entering the Royal Air Force as a pilot or as an officer, basically. I can't understand how that can possibly be acceptable. Like, how on earth have we gone in 5 years? I've been out 5 years. How have we gone from the point where I was that guy setting the standard to now the Royal Air Force does not want that standard. It doesn't want to be associated with it at all. What is going on? I'm blown away by it. 5 years. We should study this. There should be university courses on how rapidly institutions can change. I think it's sycophantic, nepotistic, if that is the correct word to use. I think it's like promoting like. I think they got wrapped up in all whatever this agenda was now. I find it incredible. I've ranted. What is this now? 13 minutes. It's not even a rant, guys. I'm just confused. Hey, look, I appreciate it. But if you can help me out with the comments, how has this happened? Tell me what's going on. How are we going to solve it? I love you guys. Talk soon.